So we're talking here about overeating, which makes our fat cells become metabolically unfavorable. And then the overeating, which is foods that don't contain a lot of nutrients, build up toxins like advanced glycation end products from cooked carbohydrate, like people like the crust of bagels and pizzas and chips and French fries. When you bake things and you toast bread and make it brown, you blacken, you form more of these acrylamides and advanced glycation end products in the body, which age us. The advanced glycation end products, the oxygen species, aldehydes, ammonia, uric acid, urea. There's a lot of toxins that build up in the body when we don't eat healthfully. And when those toxins build up, we feel fatigued all the time. And we have to overeat. We have to keep the calories coming in all the time. We got to become a calorie consuming monster. We use calories, we become a food addict because we don't feel comfortable with the right amount of calories. You have to overconsume calories to feel okay when your body is not clean, let's say, And oils, of course, are all toxic. There's no such thing as a healthy oil. Which oil is the healthiest oil? Who cares which oil is the healthiest? They're all fattening. I'm making this radical claim right now. I'm saying olive oil causes breast cancer and prostate. How can I make something so ridiculous as saying a healthy oil like olive oil causes cancer? Because people are overweight and they're pouring more high-calorie oil on their food, and the average person is using 300 to 500 calories of oil on their food, whether they're cooking it or pouring it on salads. They can't lose weight consuming all those extra oil calories because oil is an appetite stimulant. It rushes into the bloodstream very rapidly. It doesn't lower your appestat or your appetite. So you have that tablespoon of oil on your food, it makes you want to eat more, not want to eat less. And when you cook food in oil and it's fried, especially with fast foods, one of the hallmarks of fast food is that you cook food in oil and they fry things and the oils degrade and form more toxic carcinogenic compounds. It even causes cancer just to work in a fast food restaurant, even if you don't eat the food. But of course, we're saying here that cooked vegetable oil is probably even more dangerous than eating red meat. But maybe even more dangerous than eating sugar. Of course, sugar eating sweets is dangerous. And don't forget that white flour equals sugar. When you eat a piece of pizza or a bagel or a croissant or a piece of white bread, you're eating candy. That's candy, that's cake, because the body doesn't differentiate from eating sugar and eating honey and maple syrup or eating candy corn or marshmallows or eating white bread. White bread and marshmallows are the same thing because it still enters the bloodstream as glucose, as concentrated glucose, which coming in too rapidly, stimulating dopamine centers in the brain for you to want to become sweet addicted, increasing your desire to eat more calories and making you feel chronically ill unless you chronically overeat. I'm saying if you want to get sick and overweight, then put a lot of sugar, salt, sweeteners, salt, and oil in your food and use white flour. So don't think it's like, benign to have a piece of bread or a bagel or a burger bun or a pizza, because that's junk. It's the cake diet Americans eat. I call it the cake diet. For breakfast, they have a muffin. That's a piece of cake without the icing on it. Or even worse, they have a pancake or a waffle, which is a fried cake, and then they put more sugar on the cake itself. It's the craziest. Or they eat cold cereals, which are like cake, like puffed cereals, like Fruit Loops, and all kinds of other junk with sweeteners. And then they have lunch, and they have bread and pizza with a burger, or pizza's cake with cheese on top, or a burger with cake on both sides. And of course, the fast food manufacturers don't just put salt in the bread. They put salt in the French fry batter. They put salt inside the burger meat. They get you salting up everything. So you'd want to drink more soda and you want to eat more. And salt obviously is a tremendously detrimental substance to shorten human lifespan, but it's also an appetite stimulant. You want to really become overweight, you sweeten salt and oil and use a lot of white flour products. But if you want to achieve an ideal weight and ideal health, you have no choice. You have to take out the sweeteners, the salt, and the oil. You're not going to have a favorable body fat percent with a lot of oil in your diet. It's impossible. And I'm also saying here that digestion Insulin sensitivity and favorable metabolic rate is enhanced in the morning and through the midsection of the day. And we want to eat earlier in the day, eat a lighter and earlier dinner, and not eat a heavy meal at night. You know how a lot of Europeans eat a big dinner late at 9 o'clock at night and go to bed after a heavy dinner. That does not enhance lifespan. It's digesting food during sleep increases aging. Slower aging means sleeping without having food in your digestive tract. You want to finish eating for the day, maybe by 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock the latest, and give yourself a good 4 hours. And you can't eat that heavy at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock either. You have to eat light enough so digestion can finish before you go to bed at night. So you shouldn't be eating your biggest meal of the day late at night, and you should be trying eating a lighter and earlier dinner and going to bed at a consistent bedtime in a very dark room. Now, we know that vegetables are the healthiest food in the world. And vegetable portions per day decrease risk of cardiovascular disease and cancer, restoring elasticity, accelerating reversal of heart disease. We know vegetables are the most protective food against cancer and heart disease, particularly raw vegetables. Because when you cook vegetables, especially green vegetables, green cruciferous vegetables, you deactivate the enzyme. The myrosinase enzyme in green cruciferous vegetables is deactivated. So you're not going to form those beneficial anti-cancer compounds as much. It's so important to eat a salad every day and to chew it really well, to get those raw vegetables into you at least once a day with the full enzyme intact. We're talking about green vegetables with onion or scallion on the salad. So let's kind of review what you've learned so far today. We're saying that the body has the ability to live a lot longer, to slow the aging process, to stop telomeres from aging. And actually, I'm saying you can age backwards. That's as ridiculous. And people saying, what? You can slow aging, you can't age backwards. That's crazy. And I'm saying, no, I see it all the time. We see people in better health. They look better. Their skin looks younger. Their gray hair turns back darker again. We measure people's telomere age, and we see that after they change to a ideal nutritarian diet, their telomeres, which showed their biological age, was 10 years older than their chronological age. And there's this 50-year-old, has 60-year-old telomeres. And now after 3 months of dietary change, their telomeres are back to a 60-year-old and back to a 50-year-old, not a 60-year-old. And after a year of dietary change, their telomeres are down to a 40-year-old when their chronological age is 60. We watch people resist aging and build up those anti-aging proteins like SIRT1 and AMP kinase, which slow the aging process and stabilize telomere, increase stem cell longevity and maintenance, and prevent inflammation and all the factors that age us. And we're saying here that the wide exposure to hundreds, thousands of phytochemicals and different colorful plants, particularly G-bombs, right? G-bombs, greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries and seeds, berries like wild blueberries and blackberries, those dark berries, those low sugar fruits, the seeds like flax, chia, hemp, have all these lignans and beneficial compounds in them. We're saying that the broad spectrum, including onions and mushrooms in the diet, defines a nutritarian diet with the wide exposure to phytochemicals, not like a macrobiotic diet, eating mostly rice, or a potato-based diet, or a fruitarian diet, eating mostly fruit. We're looking for a diet with lots of vegetables with a wide variety of foods in it, expanding your exposure to phytochemicals, not narrowing it, regular exercise, and moderate caloric restriction to keep yourself slim and muscular and keep your weight stable at the most favorable weight as you age are the secret to slowing the aging process. Now, of course, mTOR is elevated as a protein that elevated with all invasive cancers, 100% of invasive cancers. And elevation of mTOR measured in the blood is linked to increased insulin resistance, diabetes, cancer, and turns on cancer-promoting genes. I should mention that SIRT1 and AMP turns off cancer-promoting genes, and the high intake of the isothiocyanates from green cruciferous vegetables shut down the expression of cancer-promoting genes. It's not genes that increase. The BRCA1 or the GSTP1 gene isn't the major factor increasing breast cancer in women with those genetic defects. It's their diet. Because an idealized diet, a real diet with high in green vegetables, high in phytochemicals, suppresses and prevents those dangerous genes from even being expressed or causing a problem. And obviously, animal protein drives up growth-promoting hormones like IGF-1, and excessive calories in general, like extra oil from excessive calories, extra sweets, extra high glycemic foods, which are so dangerous, putting sweeteners on our food. And we get acclimated to liking sweeteners and wanting sweeteners and wanting things sweeter. When you're off those sweetening agents, people say to me, why don't I just have stevia and xylitol and monk fruit and low-calorie sweeteners? Because you're perpetuating your desire to eat overly sweetened substances. Now, a strawberry doesn't taste that sweet to you. Lettuce doesn't have as much flavor and sweetness. Carrots aren't as sweet. Beets aren't. Natural foods no longer have great flavor because you're chronically exposing yourself to excessive concentrations of sweeteners. I'm saying you actually enjoy food more when you get all that crap junk out of your diet. And of course, and it's combination between the animal protein and the high glycemic carbohydrates put people at risk. And don't forget, fish is animal protein. And we dump 1,000 tons of plastic into the oceans every hour. Every hour, 1,000 tons of plastic. And microplastics have invaded our oceans and our fish supply. And even if a little bit of animal products wouldn't be harmful, a little bit of salamander, snake, oysters or fish or something like that, or frogs, worms. A little bit of animal products probably wouldn't be healthy on an otherwise healthy diet, but in today's society, it seems like you have to be very careful with that, because even the seals and the polar bears are polluted. What we're saying right now is there's an incredibly heightened amount of pollution, especially microplastic particles, in fish farmed and caught off the coastal regions of Western Europe and of United States, because we have so much plastic dumping in the ocean. So we're talking here about your diet, moving to a diet that's more vegetable-based, plant-based, and where we're eating a big salad every day, at least one large salad every day, that's the prescription, and using between 1.5 and 3 ounces of nuts and seeds based on caloric needs. Nuts and seeds becomes your major source of fat, not oil. And don't forget, and of course, beans are a major source of carbohydrates, especially if people have a metabolic hindrance to weight loss and they're overweight or have diabetes, because beans have the most resistant starch and the most slowly digestible carbohydrates and are most glycemically favorable. And we want to have cooked greens every day. And of course, foods that are either frozen and defrosted or blanched or cooked in a wok. We want to use water-based cooking methods, so we're not blackening and darkening foods. And we're eating mushrooms and onions, mushrooms cooked, onions both cooked and raw every day, and some fresh fruits every day, particularly, and eating, of course, the lower sugar fruits and the foods with the high polyphenols, especially the darker things regularly, like wild blueberries and blackberries and other types of low sugar fruits, pomegranates, dark cherries, all types of delicious fruits.